Ralph Khoury. He's the CFO for TBWA Worldwide, Nissan United EMEA region. Ralph Khoury is often labeled as Chief Crisis Officer for his unique ability to support growth, transformation, and deliver profitability for corporations that have experienced once-in-a-lifetime financial and economic crisis. Ralph has been an integral part in helping navigate the re-emergence of the corporations that he represented to become leading players in their markets and industries in post-crisis environments. In recent years, he emerged as a driving force in his role as the CFO as he helped successfully navigate Omnicom Media Group and TBWA RAD through the financial challenges which were brought on by COVID-19 and in the post-COVID era. Ralph holds a Bachelor of Economics from Macquarie University, Sydney, Australia, and he's a Fellow of the Australian Society of Certified Practicing Accountants. I would like to invite Ralph Khoury to the Thank you.
Please welcome on stage.
Good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency. My story, what I believe are the true traits you need to have to evolve to a CFO or to refine your skills as a CFO. You're not going to read it in any book or magazine. This is my personal story, and these are what I feel make a real difference in the role of leadership as a CFO. Most importantly, today we're here to really focus on the women who have those aspirations. So I think these are just as important. Doesn't matter which gender you're talking about. I think you'll really benefit from them. A little bit about myself. I think you've heard that. The most important point I've got on this slide is the last point. I'm the father of twins. Most importantly, twin girls. Okay? So my household is dominated by women. Okay? I had to bring on a cat, which is a male, just to sort of make it a little bit balanced. But no, it's something. And again, as 16-year-olds, they do have their own interests. They have their own passions. One of them is into the arts, singing. She's a jazz singer. The other one has taken on board the jiu-jitsu platform that this country offers for women. And she has competed several times in Abu Dhabi in the World Championships because of the jiu-jitsu program that's aimed towards women across the Emirates. So again, thank you. So evolution to CFO, that's the topic. I will try to be very, very brief, impactful in what I have to say about this. And again, these are really my learnings, what I've done to refine my learnings and my capability as a CFO, which I've held roles as a CFO for the last 23 years. We'll get started. The first and most fundamental point in my mind is having sound accounting fundamentals. Even today, as a CFO, I still refer back to understanding the accounting transaction. How does that transaction impact my P&L and balance sheet? How does it impact my cash flow, my working capital? This is something which today you still look at. And again, it sets you aside because nobody else in the organization is really looking at this. Debits and credits. It is as important as it ever was. What you learned in university, it is your language, which you still use today. I even work on T accounts because you want to make sure that the transaction today in a complex world is being recorded accurately, and how does it impact your debt ratios, how does it impact your working capital, P&L and balance sheet. It's such an important thing. However, this is incredibly complex, and it should not be discussed in front of non-finance executives, which is why I say the second most important facet is avoid using these when it comes to non-finance executives. When you talk to non-finance executives, your focus should be things like market share, revenue, profitability. Do not discuss debits and credits. Do not discuss journal entries. They just do not want to know. They'll be turned off by it. So keep that in mind. Know that have the knowledge, have a solid understanding, but keep it away from the non-finance executives. Delegate. You can't lead a finance organization if you don't delegate. It cannot be a one-man show. You need to have a team. You need to have a team that's exposed to all aspects, and you need to be able to pass on that knowledge to them and have them appropriately trained. I remember years ago I presented a provocative presentation to my CFO because I needed staff. I said, if I can't delegate, I can't do my job. So I called that presentation, "Sorry boss, no time for strategy." Brought out some laughter, amazing. So that's the thing, you really need it. If you want to focus on the big picture, If you want to focus on strategy and the important things that are going to make a difference, you need to be able to delegate. Trends and fads. You need to know how these may or may not impact your organization, right? And examples of that, artificial intelligence today, people are talking about AI. How will it impact your organization? How will it impact the finance function? What is your 30-second speech when you're in the lift and the CEO is sitting next to you and he says to you, did you read about that article about AI taking away 30 or 40% of the finance roles? What's your response to that? You need to be able to articulate that to your CEO, to your business partner, because you're representing the company, and everything that changes in the marketplace, you need to have an opinion on. Corporate tax is coming. It's already here. So again, that's going to have an impact. When VAT came in, nobody knew anything about VAT here. So we had to understand that we need to be equipped for it. We needed to have our teams trained for that. Cash. What I do know is cash is truly king. We saw that during the COVID crisis. We saw that companies who struggled for cash came into liquidity issues. So today, as a finance leader, I always insist, the first thing I want to know is how much money is in the bank, because that allows you to make decisions throughout the day. How much cash is being collected, how much needs to be paid out, and negotiate with suppliers, with your clients. Never give away payment terms without getting something back. So as a philosophy, it is truly important, and we saw the companies that manage this the best survive and in fact even thrive post-COVID. Advise business on problems. So today, as a finance leader, you need to be able to go back to your basics of business cases. What is the decision that's being taken? It could be introduction of a new product. It could be an introduction into a new market. It doesn't matter. The fundamentals are the same. You apply those fundamentals to determine whether or not it's the right decision and what you need to do in order to come out of it profitable. But let me ask you something. How many times have you heard, we need to do this project, it's very important, it's strategic? Does anyone know what it means when your CEO comes to you and says to you, forget all this, we need to do this, it's strategic? Let me tell you what that means. It means we're going to lose money. It means we're going to lose a lot of money, because strategic means a lot of investment, and there's no guarantee. So make sure you account for it properly in your budget. Simple as that. That's the message. That's always been the message when they use the word strategic. Risk management, a very important role, and your role is to mitigate those risks. Having identified the risks, having alerted management with early warning signals, at the end of the day, you need to mitigate client risks, delivery risks, political risks in a certain market, exchange rates. We've seen in some markets what's happened when you haven't protected yourself against exchange rate devaluations. Right? So really important role. And you need to develop a risk assessment framework to ensure that all aspects of the business risks are being mitigated. As a CFO, the buck stops with you. You can say no. If you don't agree, you can say no. And I encourage people to use it wisely. This is something related to the stewardship role of finance, which has been a kind of a forgotten philosophy. You are there to protect the company of all of its assets, its reputation, so tangible and intangible. If you think something is not being done correctly, you stand up, you say no, and you can go on record. But if you just look the other way, hoping it doesn't happen or you didn't see it, this is not the right behavior, and I've never advocated that. Revenue recognition. This is a topic of some debate in many companies. But at the end of the day, there are standards that determine whether or not revenue should be recognized. Your job as a CFO is to apply your judgment, clear judgment on those standards and record. You cannot have multiple views of what the revenue is. There's one view. In the game of football, at the end of the game, the score sheet says, one team won, 3-2. There's only one view of that, and you hold that view. And once you've taken a position on what is revenue, you draw the line, and that's it. So again, a very important role of finance. The buck stops with you on this one. Network. Promote your brand. Come to events like this. Utilize LinkedIn. Connect with your peers. Connect with your CFO representatives of your clients and your suppliers. Understand your ecosystem. All of these are an important part of understanding what you can share together within that ecosystem. So again, you will learn best practices from some of your clients perhaps, and vice versa. Very important role. Team development. So whilst you need to have certain attributes, your team also needs to be exposed to and need to be able to improve their skill sets. So whether it be public speaking, whether it be the ability to run models, whether it be the awareness of what's happening now on corporate tax, it's really important that the team skills are up to scratch in order to make sure that the whole finance function is delivering. Have a sense of humor. Again, I'm looking at Lily because it was quite a nice session, but you've got to be able to laugh. You can't always be serious. So there's a time to be serious, and there's a time to have a laugh. And I think we'll adopt some of these tactics that were used earlier. But certainly, being able to be able to switch from one to the other is a very important facet that you should have as a finance leader. Otherwise, nobody will want to come and see you. Nobody will really. The vibe will not be there, and the only way to have that is to have that sort of sentiment of being able to switch from being very, very serious when there are serious matters at play, and sometimes sharing a joke when it's the right time for that. So that versatility is critical. Develop your soft skills. Be able to read the room. Sometimes you have some bad news to share, but maybe it's not the right time to share it. You've got to find the right time. And sometimes perhaps things that have to be dealt with behind closed doors. So these are the soft skills I'm talking about. Being able to communicate the right thing, the right point at the right time with the right person.
Hi sir, good afternoon. So your presentation was very impressive, but I have one question. That you mentioned that we need, as a CFO, we need to advise on the business issues, business problem. But in reality, in practical, when you go on these things, you will face many issues, and you definitely there are many office politics going on, and you, in order to give advice on the problems, you must know exact what the problem, in order to give the proper advice. Okay, so as a CFO, how you perceive that what kind of steps we need to take in order to tackle these situations, sir? Thank you.
Okay, so there's two dimensions to this. Obviously, there's the technical one. So today, when you have a new venture, a problem, you have to go back to the basics. And the basics, as a finance leader, you should know. What are they? How does it impact my cash flow? How does it impact my balance sheet? How does it impact my future revenues or future profitability? This is technical. The second aspect is how and when to communicate that. How do you articulate that? And at the end of the day, in any organization, resources are limited. So if you choose to invest X here, it means something else has to stop if you have a situation where resources are limited. If they're not limited, it's a different topic. So this is where your role is to really say, look, if we want to do this, this is great, it's going to cost X. But then it means we can no longer do this, this, or this. And it's very simple, without emotion. You don't need to add the emotion to it, right? And if you present it that way, then they say, okay, what do you think? What's your point of view? Should we do it? You can give a point of view. It could be, yes, I think we can, but maybe we do it in steps, or we do it in stages, or, you know, if we do it like this, perhaps we get a better result. So you add your color, you add your flavor, you add your opinion. Yeah, and I think that's probably the best way to address those sorts of scenarios.
Hi Ralph, good morning. This is Mahmoud Saad, CPA. I have two questions actually. First one, how can finance personnel gear up for the new challenges, especially with AI, fintech, all of this one? Second one, in most of the companies where I work, there is a challenge to build a real-time, real-life reporting. Okay, because some companies, the board meeting will go until 25th, 26th of the same month, the following month, sorry. So how can we improve this one to change or transfer the business and provide real-time information to the board members? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let me talk a little bit. I touched on AI, and I do believe that AI will have a huge impact, not only in finance, in many different organizations. I think in banks we are starting to see it already. But when it comes to AI, I believe a lot of the transactional activity that are undertaken in finance organizations will be eliminated. Definitely. But that doesn't mean the finance function is going to die. This is not correct. I actually believe that the people that are flowing into the finance organizations, those students, those graduates, will just go up the value chain. We need people to focus on analysis, on conclusions, right? Having those analytical skills and ability to articulate and give opinions on the result rather than transacting the result, if you know what I mean. Yeah? So I think this is what I see in the near term. Obviously after that, if they're able to get machines to later on make recommendations, yes. But at the end of the day, one thing a machine cannot do, which I use a lot, is the gut feel. How often do you look at something and you think, this doesn't feel right? I also talk about something else which a machine cannot do, the sniff test. Doesn't smell right. Yeah? Yeah. Doesn't matter who it is, by the way. Even at home, that works. Your daughter comes and tells you a story. We want to do this and that and whatever. Yeah. The sniff test. Gut feeling. So whilst we have these attributes, machine learning cannot have them. Yeah? And what we're also seeing is that there is gender bias appearing in AI as well, which is something we're trying to work against, right? So that's the first aspect. The second question, remind me? Yeah, this one is hard. This one is a challenge because today you're really defined by the systems that you use. Okay, if you can't change your systems, there are some tricks you can deploy, which I've done. Very simple things: close early, close your month early, close your quarter early. No big deal. You can accrue anything significant after that. Except for the last, the balance date, everything else can be closed early. These are simple. Pay payroll earlier. No need to wait till the last day of the month to pay the payroll. Pay it on the 20th. Actually, your employees will be happy if you pay them a little bit earlier. Yeah? Cool?
Hi, I'm Uruj from KPMG. So basically, there's a pressure on CFOs for cost optimization. And what I've seen as a trend in a lot of my clients are they are outsourcing their finance function somewhere in Egypt, India, or Pakistan. So I've seen, even though it's effective, I have seen there's a lot of challenges. What I wanted to understand from your experience, do you think it's a sustainable model? And do you think this will be future of all the companies going forward, all the big companies, where they will be having outsourcing in different countries?
The answer is yes. And actually, I have been doing that myself for the last, 10 years, let's say. Why are we doing it? Because it makes economic sense. It's as simple as that. So today, imagine if I need to do everything centrally. It means I need to bring people from other markets, I need to house them here, we need to get visas and everything else. And actually, probably, are they going to be better off or not? I don't know. If they are sitting at home in their environment, doing exactly the same work they're doing here, perhaps they are better off, from an employee standpoint. At the same time, the company is getting a benefit, obviously, of the cost saving. The problem is if you don't do it, and your competitors are doing it, you become non-competitive. Because at the end of the day, it's your cost structure that needs to be looked at. And there are some markets that are now specialists at this, right? We've seen it. I've done a lot of offshoring into Lebanon, for example. And why Lebanon? Well, actually because they speak 3 languages, English, French, and Arabic. What we managed to do after that is use the Lebanon market, Lebanon talent, to support Belgium, French-speaking country, France, French-speaking country, UK, English-speaking country, GCC, Arabic-speaking. So we managed to address all of these by picking perhaps a different location than your normal ones, which could be, the Philippines or India or some of the other markets. So that's the kind of way we try to make it sustainable and allow it to become valuable in its own right.
Thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Reen, working as a regional financial controller covering Middle East. I have two questions, actually, if I may. So first question, from your experience, have you ever felt that whilst you have a quite senior finance role, either CFO or even in earlier years, that you keep getting pulled back into the detail, which is stopping you from addressing the more important topics? That's my first question. And the second question, how do you manage perfectionism? Would you say you are on top of finance matters, let's say 95, 98%, or do you say, let's say 80 to 90% is good enough? Thank you.
Okay, just quickly then on the first point, how do I manage to avoid getting into the detail? Recruit good people. Do not compromise on talent. Simple as that. Do not compromise on talent. Today, if you want to get, if there's an area you don't understand, get the best person in the market you can find to do it. Because then you'll know, you'll be assured that you don't have to worry about that anymore. Right? The second point about perfection, it's not so much about perfection, but about continuous improvement. You can use metrics, and every year, if you're improving those metrics, then you're progressing. You'll never get to a perfect scenario, but you need to be making constant improvement in all the metrics. What are those metrics? They are, time to close, accuracy, relevance of reporting, basic things, the amount of mistakes that are coming through the team. These are the metrics that you need to focus on. You'll always have some problems, but as long as you're eliminating them and improving them, you're making progress. Doctor? Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.